Before your next flooring job, make Lowe's your first stop. See the latest styles in our new flooring showroom. We carry more tile, more vinyl, more laminate and hardwood than ever before. Whatever you need, we have the job lot quantities you expect at bulk pricing to save you money. Shop in store or online at lowesforpros.com. Need materials delivered to your job site? No problem. Our pro team can help you get the job done right and on time. It's just one more reason why Lowe's is the new home for pros. U.S. only.
The Peel Art Gallery, Museum and Archives, also known as PAMA, is pleased to partner with Caribbean Art Fair, Black Artist Network and Dialogue, and guest curators Karen Carter and Greg Manuel to present When Night Stirred at Sea, Contemporary Caribbean Art. This exhibit aims to connect Caribbean artists to the broader art world and includes local and international talent, including Brampton's own Janice Reed. The exhibit begins on October 29th virtually and eventually on site once PAMA reopens to the public. For more information, please visit pama.peelregion.ca.
You are listening to New Theory Radio. Theory Radio.
Hello and welcome to New Theory Radio, the show where we theorize on arts and pop culture. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host. We are coming to you live here on Saga 960 AM. So I hope wherever you are ready to enjoy a jam-packed edition of our show. But before we reveal what we have in store for the next hour, we have to start by mentioning our new sponsor on the show, PAMA. Yes, the Peel Art Gallery, Museum, and Archives is officially a part of the NTR family. And don't forget their new exhibit, When Night Stirred at Sea, which is in partnership with Caribbean Art Fair, the Black Artist Network and Dialogue, and guest curators Karen Carter and Greg Manuel, begins virtually on Thursday, October 29th. This exhibition brings together works by several English Caribbean artists to reflect on the breadth of contemporary aesthetic practices within the broader Caribbean community. For more details, visit pama.peelregion.ca. First up on the show, we welcome singer/songwriter Witch Prophet, who stops by to talk about her latest album, D.N.A. Activation, which has been shortlisted for the Polaris Music Prize. She's been described as Erykah Badu meets Lauryn Hill meets Jill Scott, and we can't wait to talk to her about this amazing record and her new video for the track Tesfay, which was just released last week. And then we welcome Mississauga visual artists Breanne, Jeethan, and Karim Machado-Aman, both of which were recently selected to be a part of the Visual Arts Mississauga Creative Residency program. The program is focused on mentorship and professional development for emerging artists, so we talked to Breanne and Karim about this very unique opportunity. All this and more in this week's NTR. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back with Witch Prophet here on News Talk Saga 960 AM.
You are listening to New Theory Radio.
Welcome back to New Theory Radio on Saga 960 AM, the show we theorize on arts and pop culture. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host. New Theory Radio is presented by PAMA, the Peel Art Gallery, Museum, and Archives. My next guest on the show has been described as Erykah Badu meets Lauryn Hill meets Jill Scott. Witch Prophet is a queer Ethiopian Eritrean singer and songwriter and the co-CEO of Heart Lake Records. She provides her fans with a soundscape of vocal layers, loops, raps, and harmonies on a bed of hip-hop, jazz, and soul-inspired beats. Her latest release, D.N.A. Activation, is an ode to her ancestral roots and is co-produced by herself and her partner Sun. It's been praised by press and music lovers alike and has been shortlisted for the 2020 Polaris Music Prize. I'm pleased to welcome to NTR Witch Prophet, also known as Leilani. Leilani, thanks so much for joining us here on NTR.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very, very honored to have you on the show. I've been bumping D.N.A. Activation for the last few weeks. I think it's a fire project. And the first question I had is right from the gate, just for any listener that's maybe just getting into, especially with the Polaris announcement a few months ago, is how did your musical journey begin?
Oh man. I've been singing and performing for family and friends since I was 2 years old. First band I was ever in was the Cousins band, and that was me and my cousins and my sister and my aunt, because she was the oldest one and the one who was able to play the guitar, so she was the leader of the band. And then it just moved into working with 88 Days of Fortune, which was a collective that I co-founded with my partner Sun and a few other people, and putting on events and showcases, and then to releasing my own music. So It's been quite a journey, but more focused within the past 11 years.
Amazing. I'm glad that you got the family roots behind you, because I find that that's where a lot of talent gets discovered, right? When you're just kicking it with the fam and having fun, and all of a sudden you guys start a band, and there you go.
Yeah. I mean, and by band, I use that word very loosely. It was like, singing church songs on Sunday at my grandma's house after lunch, because what else are the kids going to do but practice to perform for everybody during tea time or dessert or something, So,
you give me memories of like when your parents hang out with their relatives, their aunts or uncles, and then they call you over to tell you to do something, do like a talent or something like that.
Yeah, we had full out skits, we had commercials, we had shows. I have a bunch of footage actually on my Instagram of me at I guess I was 3 years old in Kenya. I was born and raised in Kenya. And so me and my sister singing in front of my family in Kenya. So yeah, it's cool to look back and see and be like, wow, I've really been that girl to be like, I'm doing this. This is what I want, so.
Yeah, that experience definitely triggered something. And the one thing I love about your bio, and even when I was going through your music, is your sound has been described, and I mentioned it earlier, as Erykah Badu meets Lauryn Hill meets Jill Scott. But to me, it's still very original. Like, it's nothing like you'll hear right now. Like, you definitely have done a fantastic job in sort of carving your own space, your own niche, and really creating your own vibe. How did you go about crafting that sound for yourself?
I'm not sure. I think probably the number one influence with helping me figure out my sound and really focus in on it would be my wife Sun, and my she's my wife and also my producer, and has really helped me in terms of focusing my ideas and allowing me the room to grow. It's all Sun. It's like my idea and being like, hey, I have this idea, but I'm scared. And Sun being like, why are you scared? Let's do it. Yeah. And then her being like, here's the beat that we were talking about. And me being like, God, I love you. And then being able to do it, So I don't know. Like I've had a lot of different people tell me that I remind them of those three musicians, as well as Nina Simone. And I mean, like, those are like really heavy hitting names. I would never go out of my way to be like, this is who I am. But it's really inspiring to even hear people feel the same vibration or the same, get the same emotions that they would get by listening to all those artists, because those are all my favorite artists. So
Yeah, and all those artists are very powerful, and you definitely have a lot of power in the way that you carry yourself and the way that your music's put together, and you can sense a lot of confidence and the fact that even going through your album and the sounds you choose, just the energy, like you can feel like it's almost uplifting, right? And I find that I definitely get that vibe from you. And I find the sort of dynamic between you and Sun to be interesting as well. Did you guys meet over music, or was this something that kind of happened after you guys were together?
Well, actually what happened, it was very a magical meeting. We kept sort of like, she saw me enter into a club and give a gift to a dancer friend of hers, and kind of like leave the party before it started. And then I saw her working at a merch table at a theater that I went to see a play. And then, but it was kind of just like in passing, just like really quick. And then we happened to just walk past each other like a few weeks after those two moments. It's a really long and romantic story, and I love talking about it, but I know I can feel her in the other room being like, don't ramble. But anyways, it was like love at first sight pretty much. But what happened was that she was working at an art gallery slash clothing store in downtown Toronto. And I happened to walk in with a friend of mine at that time. And I noticed her, and I was like, oh my God, there's that girl that I've been seeing everywhere. How do I get this, like, how do I get in there? So I was like, hey, I throw parties and events. And at this time, I wasn't throwing any parties or events. And I was like, I'm a singer. And of course I was singing, but I had never performed in front of anybody. I was scared, other than my family. And I was just like, I do this. Is there a way to do this at your space? And she was like, yeah, for sure. You can throw a party here. You can perform, but my band has to perform as well.
Oh,
and
wow.
Her band. Yeah. And she had a band called Abstract Random. And from then, that was in 2009. And from then we were like, her band played, and I was like, we threw a party and her band played, and I was like, I love your band. I want to be a part of your band. And then I joined the band.
Awesome.
Yeah, I joined the band, and then it just grew from there. And we were more like focused on working together within the past 6 years on the Golden Octave and of course D.N.A. activation. But before that, it was Abstract Random, and then our other band, Above Top Secret.
Yeah, that's dope. That's really good, because I find that, even despite her being her being your partner for life, like I think the working relationship was something that maybe just happened organically, it seems like.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanted to talk to you about, you mentioned 88 Days of Fortune, which is now known as Heart Lake Records. And the one thing I was reading about this platform that you created over 10 years ago, was that you created it and as a way for artists to feel free. Tell me more about that.
It was a way for artists to feel free and safe, or as safe as you can be in spaces, because you can never, things cannot always be safe. Safer, a space for queer, BIPOC, artists and allies to be able to share space and to integrate. At that time, when we first started, it wasn't a thing in Toronto where there was like a lot of parties where there was integration between queer and straight communities, specifically within the hip hop realm. Now it's like everything, like, and nobody cares. Some really people inclusive. Care, but mostly it's super inclusive. And so like that was our parties. Like that's what our whole events were about, was about inclusivity. It was about like uplifting artists that are in the margins. It was about like giving a platform for people who usually didn't get booked for performances. Like the whole reason why we started it was because a group of us kept trying to get booked to perform, and every booker and every show that we like, were like, hey, we're these, up and coming artists, put us on your showcase, would be like, well, where have you performed before?
Yeah.
Like, well, how can I perform if you don't let me perform? Like, how can I say I perform here if you never let me perform? And so it was just like, let's just throw our own parties. And I'm sure like a lot of collectives do that, and a lot of things happen like that, in that way of like, I'm not given the space, so I'm just going to make the space and make it happen because the community is there. And that's what happened with 88 days. And then as the years grew on, we were like, okay, just like friendships and families, people grow apart and people do their own thing. But I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to let go of the amount of work we put into this infrastructure, because it's like the lacking of infrastructure within the Canadian music industry, specifically for hip hop and urban music, is so ridiculous that I was like, I don't want to be a blip in the radar of the timeline of, what was going on in Canadian music. I want this to be like a cornerstone and to grow upon it. And so I was like, the best way to do this is to rebrand and to be a label and to move it from events and showcasing to labels and project management and releasing things and funding music videos and getting grants and mentorship.
And then that actually sounds like a logical extension, right? Because I think a lot of us are especially when you look at the actual need of space for a lot of communities, and when you've found a way to carve that space or create your own space, it's like, okay, well, what else can I be doing? Because the space has been created. What are some other areas that we need to break through? And I love the fact that you've been able to turn this into a record label, because it's the same struggle, right? A lot of artists, whether it's hip hop, whether they're BIPOC, whether they identify as queer, there's still things that work against them to really break through, that you almost have to take that entrepreneur mentality and just start your own and just demand that people pay attention, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I was also going to ask, is Heart Lake related to Brampton at all, or no?
Close. We Sunson and I moved to Caledon, so we live. That's our street.
Oh, okay. No way.
We're on the opposite side of Brampton.
It always comes back to Peel. That's why we're on Saga 960 AM, right?
I know.
Always comes back to Peel. I love it. D.N.A. Activation is your recent release, and it's getting rave reviews. And it's what's interesting about it, and you talked about it, how like you felt that there isn't a lot of infrastructure available for people from different communities, and the hip hop community is a prime example of just a community that still could use a little bit of help when it comes to getting their music heard. I know for this album, you were able to get funding through the Ontario Arts Council. So how would you sort of describe that feeling, and what was it like putting this record together?
Getting the funding from the OAC was like such a dream come true, because I would have been able to do this without the funding, but it wouldn't have been to the level that I wanted, and the level that I think I deserved. And I think that's why I got the grant, because they believed in my idea and saw the potential in the work. But it really, the grants, it's a really hard thing to get, because there is only like maybe 20% of the people that apply might get it, so it's a province-wide competition. But at the same time, it was like, I just need some sort of funding. I did the album before that, the Golden Octave, with no funding, and I was able to do it, but I was like, I really want this. I need to get to the next step, and I can't keep doing the same things, because it's just going to leave me stagnant on the same level. And that's not where I want to be. And so the next logical level was trying to get funding and trying to, pay for other artists to come in, like Karen Ng, who's a fantastic musician, came in and played saxophone on the album. And, Brandon Valdivia played flute on the album, and being able to get records pressed, and just really being able to do everything, being able to pay for a photographer to take the pictures for the cover, and not having to worry about getting a side hustle or doing something to afford that. And so I could actually focus on the music, which is really something that I think a lot of people take advantage of and don't realize the necessity for it, because it's just like, oh, whatever, it's a song, you can do it and really easily. It's like, yeah, but if I'm thinking about 17 other things, administration included, it's like, how stretched is my creativity? You know what I mean? So I was really lucky and so grateful for that funding. It also allowed us time to like just sit and process the idea, and then gave obviously me the feeling that my idea was worth it, and that my story was worth telling, and that the risk of doing an album where I'm singing in 2 languages that I'm definitely not fluent in, and trying to connect to my heritage, is something that is seen as having merit. So it was, it's great.
And I think you touched on a very interesting point, Lilani, in regards to wanting to not stay stagnant and wanting to take it to the next level, because even in the region that I'm from, in Peel region, there's so much talent in the region, but the reason that they haven't been able to see the growth that they want to see, a lot of that has to do with just income, like funding, like it's like just basic resources, being able to access resources, being able to bare minimum hire a publicist to even just get your music out there, or even, to your point, get a proper photo shoot or music video done that's actually going to turn some heads and get noticed. Like, I think a lot of that is a challenge for a lot of folks, especially when they are already producing a lot of high quality records. And how long was the process to put D.N.A. activation together?
It was about a year. Well, that's not true. I first had the idea and the concept in 2014. I had applied for OAC grant and a few other funding bodies. I think Factor and something else I can't remember, and got denied. And was like, oh, and with that denial came like, feeling like the idea was wrong, and that it wasn't worth it, right? So I put it on the shelf. And then within that, from 2014 until about 2019, I had sat on a bunch of different juries and committees for the OAC, for Toronto Arts Council, for Factor. And so I had the chance to read a lot of different grants and understand the pattern of successful grants and what made a successful grant. And so I was able to rewrite my original idea more clearly. And so once that happened, from rewriting the grant and applying to releasing the album, was about a year and change.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm glad that you took that time, because writing a grant, we've talked about on the show here numerous times, there's an art to it, right?
Yeah, there definitely is.
Yeah, being able to convey your idea.
Sitting on the juries really makes me notice that when people write grants a day before the due date of the grant, you can tell. Even a week before, you can tell. Yeah. Because there's grants that are handed in that have like really taken the time to spend like 2-3 months on questions to like, really flush out the question, really be as clear as possible with giving as many, you really have to state your case. You're asking people for thousands of dollars and you're competing with many people. So it was a godsend to be able to be denied and then to be originally denied for a grant and then to be able to sit on these juries and be like, oh shoot, that's why I was denied. It wasn't that my idea was wrong. It was that my grant was wrong. And here's my yeah.
No, I was going to say, like, it's so easy when you get rejected to just give up and to be like, you know what, I don't want to deal with this, too many politics. But, I think it's important, especially with your learnings. I hope anyone listening to this realizes, no, you got to keep going, but you got to realize what you're doing wrong in the first place to be able to see success, right?
Yeah. Because if you keep doing the wrong thing over and over again, then where are you going to go?
Exactly. Yeah.
You
just released amazing visuals for the track Tesfay. And as a father to a Tesfay, apologies, Tesfay.
Yeah, no worries.
As a father to a daughter, this track really spoke to me. It was inspired by your late grandfather. Why was it important for you to share the story?
Well, when I was thinking about what video I was going to do, I was approached by Leah, who's the director of the video. She hit me up on Instagram being like, I love your work and I'd love to be able to work with you and work on a video. And so we discussed a few different songs that we might do, but we settled on Tesfay because of her idea, actually, which was to incorporate the storyline of the two dancers, which is a father figure and a daughter dancing together, which I thought was great because it really it showed a positive image of a Black man and also a positive image of a father and a daughter, when you don't really see that a lot. Whenever it's like, dad stuff, it's pretty gendered. It's like the dad and the son. And so it's like a thing that happens. So I was really, really lucky that she had this fantastic idea, but then also that she listened to my lyrics and understood when I told her about my grandfather that he was, a single father who raised 5 daughters in Ethiopia after my grandmother passed away, how he was extremely empowering to my mother and to her sisters because he really believed in education first and, didn't push them towards the ideas of what he was raised to believe what a woman is, and your woman's place is in the kitchen, woman's place is to be a wife, and he was really like against that. He was like, no, don't do that. Like, go to school, get your grades up, travel the world, get this experience, and so for a man who was born in the 20s and raising women in the 50s and 60s in Ethiopia is like a fantastic memory to share with the world. And also the fact that he was always in 3-piece suits is like not a joke. Like, that song is really about him suited up, looking good, feeling fine. Like, was like, I'm fine. I got my 3-piece suit on. I'm looking fantastic. And so that's the whole point of the song is like, love yourself, take care of yourself, look as great as you feel on the inside, outwardly, and also empower the people who are around you and your family. So, that's what I hope. That's what I had explained to Leia, and then she just completely flipped it and like did this fantastic video, which
it's fire.
I'm still really processing because I couldn't believe how amazing it was. And there's so many people who worked on the video with her, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah, the video's fire. I urge everybody to go check it out. It's currently on YouTube. I believe it's on your IG as well. The video for Tesfay, amazing. Like, I'm loving the choreography, the choreography amongst with the father figure and the daughter as well. It's again, it's very uplifting. If you're looking for some good content, go check it out. You were shortlisted for D.N.A activation for the Polaris Music Prize, which takes place on, well, as of this airing, will be taking place tomorrow, which is October 19th. What does that mean to you?
Man, it means that I'm doing something right. I did something right and somebody likes me, so I'm grateful. It means that I'm moving in the right direction and to keep going. I keep reminding myself, like, it's not really about the winning, but about, the journey, as corny as that seems, but like, it really is about the journey, and it really is about the friends we made along the way. Well, sorry, that's like a really cheesy meme that me and my son joke about all the time. But anyways, it's my own personal joke. Nobody is going to get it. But anyways, but for real, it really is about the journey and just the process of like being able to shoot the short film and, getting to talk to a lot of people who I've never talked to, like yourself. Being able to share my music is like really fantastic. And so just getting the recognition from the Canadian music journalists throughout all of Canada to be like, yes, we like your album and we like your music, and we believe that it's up in this top 10 ranking alongside so many fantastic artists. Like, it's just like, wow, it's really humbling and exciting. Yeah.
It's certainly not stagnant for you anymore, right?
I hope not.
No, it's honestly, it's well deserved. The actual shortlist this year, you're amongst some amazing company, but it's well worth it. And I have to sort of conclude this interview by just simply asking, like, what's next after the 19th? Even just looking into the future as we approach sort of the year, the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021, what does Which Prophet have in store?
Well, Sun and I are working on a soul album, probably for release 2021, if not the end of or the beginning of 2022. And I can't believe that I'm already jumping to 2022, but I'm like, I want to get out of this year. So I don't know if the borders are going to be open. I don't know if I'm going to be doing any touring. So it'll probably be all virtual for a little while until we figure out what's really going on in this world. But yeah, the soul album, in talks to work on a folk album.
Oh, nice.
But that's just in talks at the moment. Going to be releasing some albums from some artists off of Heart Lake Records. So we have EP coming out from Yasmin, a compilation album coming out from Sun, and a couple other people that we have not signed the contracts for yet. So I cannot say their names, but some good stuff coming out of Heart Lake Records.
Amazing. Well, Which Prophet, best of luck with the Polaris Prize. Regardless, D.N.A activation is a fire record, one of the best of the year. So congrats on that. Shout outs to you and Sun for putting that together. Go check out D.N.A activation now on all streaming services, and don't miss the Polaris Prize celebration on October 19th. The event begins at 8 p.m. and can be streamed on CBC Gem. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to have more New Theory Radio in just a few moments.
You are listening to New Theory Radio.
Welcome Welcome back to New Theory Radio on Saga 960 AM, the show where we theorize on arts and pop culture. My name is Nav Nanwa. I'm your host. New Theory Radio is presented by PAMA, the Peel Art Gallery, Museum, and Archives. Visual Arts Mississauga, aka VAM, recently announced a new cohort of resident artists for its 2021 VAM Creative Residency program, also known as VCR. The program is an opportunity for emerging artists in Mississauga to participate in a 6-month exhibitions program with a focus on mentorship and professional development. And two of the new residents are joining me today on NTR to talk about this program further. I have self-taught artist and oil painter Karim Machado-Aman. Karim, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Nav?
I'm good. And I have multidisciplinary designer and artist Breanne Jeethan. Breanne, how's it going?
It's great. Thanks for having us here.
Anytime. I'm very excited to have residents from the VCR program on NTR. It's a program that I've been following for the last few years, and I love what BAM has been doing in regards to providing these opportunities for artists in the community. But before we jump into some of the details, I wanted to just understand what inspired each of you to apply for this program. Maybe Breanne, will begin with you.
Well, working as a freelance graphic designer, I found it really hard to stay motivated and to stay consistently creative, especially during times of pandemic. It's a job that's very isolating. So I really wanted to find another opportunity where I could have a community. I could have people that I could reach out to, learn from. And it was just taking a toll on me being at home, working on my own art by myself. So the VAM Creative Residency was a great opportunity for me.
Yeah, exactly. It's been tough for a lot of creatives nowadays, especially with the pandemic, to really somewhat stay motivated or find inspiration, right? So I think I'm glad the VCR program is something that's still continuing. And Karim, do you share the same sentiments in regards to why you decided to apply?
I do. For me, it was mainly because VAM, the Creative Residency, was one of its kind, one of the only ones. You know, it's the VAM itself, the gallery is surrounded by nature. Mm-hmm. It's fully inspiring. And just working there and being able to be in the studio and, you know, be surrounded by all these trees, all this nature, it really is inspiring, and like it gets my drive and passion going.
Yeah, and what's awesome, I'm glad you described the scenery around VAM, because it truly is a beautiful institution. Like every time I see it, I'm quite surprised that it's in such a residential area like Mississauga, right?
Yeah, I found it astounding when I first got there.
I need to do a live show from there. So D.N.A, if you're listening, let's make it happen post-pandemic. Mentorship and professional development within the art scene can be difficult to come by. Before being accepted into this program, how did both of you seek these areas out for yourself? And Karim, will begin with you.
Well, before VAM itself, I had sought out some mentorship from professional artists in the field in like painting and drawing. But the thing that I found was most of them, they ended up being more of like a critique-esque, as in like you would have to pay for to have like the mentorship, and it wouldn't be like a hands-on mentorship. It would be more of like over the email, or even like a critique of your work, and then you just send work and then they critique it every month, but you have to pay for the month. But honestly, when I found out about VAM, that they were offering this mentorship and as well as an exhibition opportunity to help with the creative residents that they accepted, I really found it very, very, I guess I could say, humbling and very like gracious that they would do that for us, that they would help us, you know, bring mentors in that work in each of our fields, and really help us, you know, gain a understanding for this career, for this art realm that we're in. And because we are here, like us as emerging artists, we are working very hard. We're here representing Mississauga and representing Ontario, and we are here to stay. So it's good that VAM recognized that.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you touched on the critique aspect of mentorship, because anyone who's had a mentor in any industry, it's you're never really looking for someone to critique you. You're looking for someone to maybe provide constructive feedback and how you can grow and develop. And maybe in the art space, I'm not too familiar because I'm not an artist myself. Admittedly, I'm more of a fan, but I can see how, especially in the art space, when you're showing someone a piece of work, how they can right away go to opinion versus going to find ways to better the work that's being put in front of them.
Yeah, and like I found that it was mostly independent artists that were offering these, I guess, mentorship critique-esque classes, as opposed to like galleries at like VAM who would offer them.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that very interesting, into my knowledge, that like a gallery like VAM would offer a residency for so many people.
Yeah, no, it's truly fantastic. Breanne, how about you? What's been your experience when it comes to mentorship and professional development, especially in the graphic design world, which is where I know a lot of your work is based?
Yeah. So I graduated from OCAD, and with OCAD, they have a program for recent grads called the CEAD, the Center for Emerging Artists and Designers, and it was my hub for information for a long time since I graduated. And they would have mentorship opportunities. They would have online events. And that's where I found out more information about artist and residency programs and exhibition calls. And I was more interested in that aspect more than my graphic design aspect, because it was a way for me to be myself in a way. So I would constantly be on top of their like news posts or all of their new like information that they would put out. And it was through that whole spiel that I started looking at things in my own city.
Mm-hmm.
And it was tough. Like, of course, with any position, with any job, applying to a job, it's hard to find an area that's right for you. But the one thing that kept me going was working on things that I enjoyed. And I knew that VAM could help provide a platform for me to do so.
Yeah, no, exactly. Breanne, I know you touched on it earlier in a previous answer, but I want to get both of your opinions on this. How has the visual art scene truly been affected by the pandemic? And this can be in a positive way or even a negative way. Maybe Breanne, we'll begin with you. You did talk about isolation a little bit, but
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you noticed when it comes to the impact that the pandemic has had on visual artists?
I noticed a lot, actually. Within the city of Mississauga, it's more than it's ever been, for sure, but it definitely could improve upon vastly, especially in times of a pandemic. Like, we need spaces for public art because that's the most safe. We need spaces for visual exhibitions. And then we need artists like Karim and myself, who are emerging designers, to help the city with new art.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many empty parking lots and empty warehouses that could be transformed within like a week amount of space, like a week time frame, that could be like a virtual event, or it could be something that could interest somebody on social media.
Yeah.
Like, these conversations need to be had, and especially needs to be heard within the community, that include a lot of BIPOC artists. So a lot of inclusivity. We need to have these conversations so that changes can happen. And if we don't start now, they won't acknowledge us. The city won't acknowledge us. They'll just keep building the McDonald's, or they'll just keep building like an empty, they'll use the space for like a Walmart or something.
Yeah. And that's something I've noticed in a lot of different municipalities is really, it's, for me, being someone who's a big fan of art, and I still remember the first time I went out to Philadelphia, and when I went to Philadelphia, like I believe 1% of the city's funding is put towards murals and like finding ways to boost up the aesthetic of a lot of the city with visual art, whether it be sculptures or murals or whatever's around, just finding a way to make it look nice, because the mayor and the city staff and the city council realize, hey, this is really making our city stand out and look very appeasing to people who want to come and visit there, or want to live there. And to me, like Mississauga has done a fantastic job in my eyes in regards to really pushing arts and culture. But I do think that, especially in the situation that we're in, I feel like art definitely has the power to uplift, especially if it is in areas that we're probably exploring more, because being outdoors is definitely safer than being indoors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kareem, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Breanne. And also that, I think that the pandemic is really making artists that are now in isolation really confront their, I guess I could say, fears about, let's say, if there's an open or like a blank canvas in like the corner of their room, they'll finally be able to like stare that down, be like, you know what, I have to work on this. I can't be putting this aside for too long. Because I know that's happened to me before, where I've been like, early in my career, I've been like, I guess, afraid of like that blank canvas in front of me. I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do? There's so many possibilities. But now I think creatives are really going at it, like really, like they're creating a lot during this pandemic. They're using the pandemic as inspiration too, to tell stories, theme-based works. And also what Breanne was saying about the city of Mississauga, really, it could be doing a lot more, even though it has done a lot. Like how VAM is sponsored by the Community Foundation Mississauga, and that is good. But I think we could be doing more with the warehouses and the open spaces in terms of more exhibitions, opportunities for more emerging artists.
Yeah, and to add to that, if it's a opportunity to change our mindset, whether it be making art or viewing art, in terms of being in isolation and being kind of sad and drowned down by everything that's happening in the news, it's something that can just change the way that you think.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good distraction, right?
Yeah.
Because I find that especially nowadays and majority of this year now, it has been very doom and gloom when you think about things, and a lot of people have turned to art in various mediums, whether it's music, whether it's something that's something visual on TV or on your screen, or even just taking in some outdoor scenery. Like I think a lot of those methods of coping have been related to an aspect of art some way or somehow, right?
It's a way of release for sure.
Yeah, totally. I want to kind of close out the interview with just a few questions, and these are just going to be based on the work that both of you do individually in your respective spaces. So, Breanne, a lot of the work that you do is rooted in personal stories of women and themes like race, culture, and religion. Just curious, when putting a piece together, how do you pinpoint inspiration?
Well, inspiration for me is usually derived by my personal stories that's affected me in my daily life. So it's difficult to live with being a female of color, to deal with the gender inequality, working really hard just to be paid less, and being disrespected and dismissed. So a lot of my inspiration is driven from my feelings of pain or my feelings of uncomfort. I just want to be included. So a lot of my work is based on my personal stories, and I found that a lot of other people who view my work also share their personal stories, or they take something away from it, and it just makes them think differently. And that's my goal.
Amazing.
I want to share my personal stories and let it be known that it is a problem in today's society.
And that's usually where the best art comes from, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to personal experience and using it as a way, like we mentioned earlier, as a way to cope or as a way to find understanding. I think the greatest artists have been able to tap into that, and I think it definitely does come out in the work that you put out for sure. And Kareem, what I find very intriguing about your story is you're a self-taught artist / oil painter.
Yeah.
And you specialize in figurative and contemporary art. And when I was looking at your work, actually, I saw a piece that you did of the weekend as well. These are like very 19th century techniques, but I find that has a modern twist to it. And I think that's a cool crossover that you've been able to pinpoint. What sort of went into you finding this style?
Well, for me, it was a lot of experimenting and studying past and present masters of painting, and a lot of practice and a long time. You know, last year I moved to Montreal to work painting, and during that time I got to really focus on my passion and focus on my drive. What do I want to create? What do I want to tell my story? And I found that while I was traveling from Montreal to Mississauga and back to visit my parents, I would always rekindle some old friendships with some old friends from high school, and just got to know them and paint them. And I found that doing that and telling their story through my paintings, I found that it drew my style to where I wanted it to be. You know, even though I still study people like Nelson Shanks to like Bormans to even like Bourgeois, I still think that while it's good to keep the past in your mind, as in like technique wise, I still think adding that like contemporary twist and modern twist is important to, you know, cement your style and cement your technique to where you're able to work confidently every time you paint, and you can tell a story just through a picture or even a sitting that your friends or even family members do for you.
Amazing. Just to kind of close this one out, how do you both hope to maximize your time in the VCR program, knowing that it is a 6-month program, and yeah, definitely very exciting in regards to just where this could take you after you complete it as well. Breanne, maybe we'll begin with you.
I want to be involved in everything that I can be, because after this, I don't know how long I'm going to have to be like alone in my house, not collaborating with other artists. So I want to be involved as much as I can. I want to assist with classes because I love working with students and mentors. I love learning from everyone that I can. Using the studio space because even when working in a space that's shared amongst a couple of people, you learn things. Like you think about something differently. You look at how someone's painting, or you look at the way that their mind works, someone else's mind works when they're writing down ideas or having a conversation with you. So I just want to be involved as much as I can, maybe help out with graphics because that's my area of expertise, but just be as useful as I can and be as pleasant as I can, because I know that this is a very it's not a rare opportunity, but it's an opportunity that's beneficial for me.
Awesome. And then Karim, what about yourself? How do you plan to maximize your time in this program?
Well, you know, I'm planning on being at the VAM studio as much as possible and really getting that inspiration that I've been talking about before into my paintings. And I also want to make sure that I'm able to learn as much as I can from my fellow colleagues about what they're doing and what their stories are about, as well as what our mentors are talking about and about what they're teaching us. And right now I'm trying to get accustomed to working with my surroundings with in terms of using that to tell more stories about where I am, Mississauga, to show how proud I am of this city and about how I am as an artist telling the stories of my community. Amazing.
Well, we're totally looking forward to following both of your journeys during this time that you'll be spending as a part of the VAM Creative Residency program. For more information on this program and how you can follow, I guess, the progress and the work of both Karim and Breanne, visit visualartsmississauga.com. All the information on their creative residency program is on their website as well. I believe the VAM Creative Residency is also on Facebook and Instagram, and is it on Twitter as well? I believe it's on Twitter. Maybe not. Well, we'll check. Whatever. All the details, I'll include that on our social feeds, on the New Theory Radio feeds. So thank you both for joining us here this week on New Theory Radio. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back after this brief commercial message.
You are listening to New Theory Radio. Theory Radio.
Welcome back to New Theory Radio, the show where we theorize on arts and pop culture. My name is Nav Nanwa. I'm your host. And big thanks to Witch Prophet as well as Breanne and Karim from the Visual Arts Mississauga Creative Residency Program. Very much enjoyed talking to all three of them. Do not miss the Polaris Music Prize celebration, which Witch Prophet has been shortlisted for. So you can check out that on October 19th on CBC Gems. So if you're listening to this on Sunday, that means tomorrow. If you're listening to this on Monday, that means it's happening right now. So go tune in on CBC Gem because you do not want to miss it. Or if you're catching the podcast version, I'm sure it's still live on CBC Gem. So go check it out on that platform. And this is a wrap for this week's edition. But before we leave, I do have to give a special shout outs to our sponsor, PAMA, the Peel Art Gallery, Museum and Archives, who is officially now a part of the NTR family. Don't forget their new exhibit, When Night Stirred at Sea, which is in partnership with Caribbean Art Fair, the Black Artist Network and Dialogue, and guest curators Karen Carter and Greg Manuel. Begins virtually on Thursday, October 29th. The exhibition brings together works by several English Caribbean artists to reflect on the breadth of contemporary aesthetic practices within the broader Caribbean community. For more details, visit pama.peelregion.ca. If you want to connect with me, it is at Nav Nanwa on Instagram and Twitter. If you want to connect with New Theory Radio, it is at New Theory Radio across all social platforms. Big shout outs to my little brother Amit Nanwa, who aka at colorblind photography _ as he is the man behind our photos and our graphics. And special big shout outs to Dusty Loops at Dusty Loops across all platforms. He is the producer behind our theme song, as well as the other instrumentals that you sometimes hear on our show. That's a wrap for this week's edition. Thanks again for tuning in, and you will hear all of us next time. Peace.
Before your next flooring job, make Lowe's your first stop. See the latest styles in our new flooring showroom. We carry more tile, more vinyl, more laminate and hardwood than ever before. Whatever you need, we have the job lot quantities you expect at bulk pricing to save you money. Shop in store or online at lowesforpros.com. Need materials delivered to your job site? No problem. Our pro team can help you get the job done right and on time. It's just one more reason why Lowe's is the new home for pros. U.S. only. Before your next flooring job, make Lowe's your first stop. See the latest styles in our new flooring showroom. We carry more tile, more vinyl, more laminate and hardwood than ever before. Whatever you need, we have the job lot quantities you expect at bulk pricing to save you money. Shop in store or online at lowesforpros.com. Need materials delivered to your job site? No problem. Our pro team can help you get the job done right and on time. It's just one more reason why Lowe's is the new home for pros. U.S. only.